When used properly, your Vermeer Handlebar Stump cutter will give you many hours of productive service. It is equipped with useful safety features to help protect you from serious injury. But safe work practices are also a necessary part of accident prevention. The machine is capable of serious injury if used improperly. Exercise caution and use good judgment. Your safety depends on it. This video will present selected operating procedures for Vermeer Handlebar Stump cutters. However, this video is not a substitute for a thorough and complete reading and understanding of the operator's manual and its safety instructions. You have received 2 operator's manuals with your machine. One comes in a resource library of materials shipped with your machine. The other is attached to the machine so that it'll always be close at hand. Before operating the machine, always read the operator's manual, know its content, and follow its instructions. Also, review and follow the safety messages and warnings placed on the machine. Allow only responsible, properly trained people to operate the stump cutter. Carefully supervise any inexperienced operators. Advise anyone who will operate it to read the operator's manual carefully and watch this video. As you prepare to transport the stump cutter to your cutting site, there are a few things to keep in mind. When loading by hand, 2 people are required to lift the machine in or out of the vehicle. Each person must be capable of safely lifting half of the marked machine weight. Be sure to follow safe lifting practices and only load the machine with the engine off. If loading ramps are used, follow the manufacturer's instructions for safe use. After loading the machine, set the wheel brake and secure the machine in the vehicle with tie-down straps. You are now ready to transport the stump cutter to the work site. When you arrive, inspect for and remove any wire, loose chunks of wood, stones, or other foreign objects from around the stump and the work area. Any of these objects could become a dangerous projectile if thrown by the stump cutter. Keep the cutter wheel guard in place and lowered whenever the engine is running. The guard helps keep you away from the rotating cutter wheel. Remember, the most effective way to protect yourself from injury is to stay away whenever the cutter wheel is turning. Before you start the engine and begin cutting, make sure you're wearing appropriate personal protective equipment. These include a hard hat, hearing protection, safety glasses or goggles along with a full face shield, work shoes, and if working near traffic, reflective clothing. Position the stump cutter in front of the stump. Then, with the cutter wheel drive control released, start the engine according to the instructions found in the operator's manual. Make sure there are no other workers or spectators near the machine. To cut the stump, position the cutter wheel at the top front edge of the stump as shown here. Have the cutter wheel drive control released while you do this. Prepare to make a first cut through the stump by engaging the wheel brake. This will allow the machine to pivot across the stump while grinding. Raise engine speed to full RPM by releasing the safety latch and fully gripping the cutter wheel drive control. As the engine speed increases, the cutter wheel automatically engages. Releasing the cutter wheel drive control will stop the wheel automatically within a few seconds. If the cutter wheel does not automatically stop when the cutter wheel drive control is released, do not operate the machine. For best performance, keep the engine at full operating speed at all times while grinding. Lower the cutter wheel and using a sweeping motion, make a first cut while maintaining continuous down pressure on the cutter wheel. Before you continue, take note of the hardness of the wood. Some wood will be harder to cut, requiring you to adjust the depth of your cut and your cross-travel speed. As you continue the cut, lower the cutter wheel and make a deeper cut into the stump. Keep cutting the stump, lowering the cutter wheel after each pass before swinging it across the stump again. When you have completed your initial passes grinding the stump down to ground level, raise the cutter wheel, release the wheel brake, and advance the machine farther into the stump. Resume the smooth swinging motion as you advance through the stump. For best results, the stump should be ground in 2 steps. Step 1 is to take it down to ground level. The accumulated chips around the stump area may need to be raked away before you can proceed with step 2 of cutting the stump below ground level. Follow this normal shutdown procedure before attempting to move any chips. Release the cutter wheel drive control and wait for the engine to idle down and the cutter wheel to stop turning. Stop the engine and release the brake to move the machine back from the stump. To stop the cutter wheel more quickly, release the cutter wheel drive control and lower the wheel into the stump. With the cutter wheel and engine stopped and the machine moved back, you can safely rake the chips away from the stump area. This will level the area and make the machine easier to maneuver as you finish grinding. With the chips removed, you can now move the machine back into position, restart the engine, set the wheel brake, grip the cutter wheel drive control, and continue to grind the stump. Once you've achieved your desired depth, release the cutter wheel drive control and wait for the wheel to come to a complete stop before turning off the engine and moving the machine back from the stump. The Vermeer Handlebar Stump Cutters will give you many hours of valuable service. Your responsibility is to make sure you read and understand the instructions on the machine and in the operator's manual so you can operate the stump cutters safely.